Uh, as an older person, we tend to always think that the younger people don't know what the heck they're talking about, and some of the times that's actually true. But as a Gen Xer, somebody who was born in the 70s and grew up in the 80s, now in the 2020s, I come to realize that there are some things that young people know that we don't know, and we could probably do well to listen to them on certain matters. How you doing? This is the Wrestling with Finance channel. We're doing another video here about something slightly different than the topics that we usually cover, which have been basically about personal finance and the stock market and news and stuff like that. But today I wanted to talk about something just slightly different, and that's how Gen X can probably learn something from millennials, specifically about money management. It's a topic that doesn't get discussed a lot, but I think it's worth a lot of people listening to. Now, before I start singing the praises of all the young people under 35, I need you to sing me the praises by hitting that like button, just taking your thumb and just kind of just grinding it into the like button, and then maybe pop it over to the subscribe button and then to the notification bell so you know when I have new videos coming out. The YouTube algorithm, it works that way. It likes to see you guys doing that stuff and write comments and everything else. Engagement, essentially. So that helps out the channel. If you find any value in any of the videos that I provide for you guys, that definitely helps it out. It helps other people be able to see these videos. Again, I appreciate it. So as a Gen Xer, which I was born in the late 70s, and coming out of that generation, we grew up kind of sandwiched between two big paradigms. Our generation is not very big. Numbers wise, we're smaller than the millennials, we're smaller than the baby boomers, which are the two generations we got sandwiched between. And economics looked very differently from what it was for the baby boomers and what it is for the millennials. But we as Gen Xers, we kind of got sandwiched between this change. And a lot of Gen Xers I know have some issues with money management. In fact, a lot of them have terrible money management. I know I certainly did in the past, have terrible money management skills. And I think a lot of it is us living off of the old paradigm that our parents, the baby boomers, lived under, and not really kind of being able to embrace the changes that happened while we instituted some of those changes. But a lot of us kind of got left behind on it. And now the millennials, a lot of millennials seem to have figured out the new way of doing things. And this is why I say that it makes a lot of sense for some Gen Xers to listen to what the millennials are doing and try to see if they can adopt some of those strategies into your life. If you're still not too old, you're probably in your late 30s, 40s, and 50s. 50s, you might be a bit old for it, but you're still young enough that you can probably kind of correct some of the mistakes that Gen X in particular makes with money management. So as a Gen Xer, we grew up, again, coming out of the baby boomers, and the old paradigm was you get a job, you go, well, first off, you go to college, and you got to get out of college and you get a job, and then you go for the rest of your life working for the next 30 some odd years at a job. Usually, now during our period of time, however, that kind of changed a little bit, because you couldn't just stay at a job for 30, 40 years as the baby boomers and prior generations did. During the time of us as Gen X, things changed where it was more likely that you would stay at a job for 5 to 6 years and then move to another job and then move to another job, which is kind of the dynamic that happens a lot today. But we're caught in the middle of this change, and some of us adapted to it and others of us did not. Then the thought was, after you worked all those years, 30, 35 years, whatever it was, you'd be able to retire and then live your twilight years, enjoying your life until you died, essentially. Kind of a morbid thought. But again, things have changed. Technology changed. And technology especially changed for me and for all of us who are in Gen X. The baby boomers, they came up, they didn't have like 1,000 entertainment options readily at their fingertips at 24/7 a day. The millennials have that now. That is the standard of life, just to have entertainment and stuff available all the time. Gen X, again, we were the generation in between that got sandwiched between that and that explosion of technology since the 70s. Even not just with the way we entertain ourselves by, going from having 3 television stations to having unlimited television stations, and then now streaming services. and on demand. I mean, we went through videotapes and Blockbuster Video and Redbox to now to Netflix and everything else. We went from a movie theater maybe having one movie that would stay in the theater for like 5 months to having rapid release movie theaters and the big budget movie theaters and the summer blockbuster phenomena, and all of those things have come during my lifetime. And a lot of those things have changed the way things are done, including information. I remember very vividly, my mother we had an encyclopedia, the Encyclopedia Britannica commercials. I remember those weird commercials with that blonde guy with the glasses who thought he was so smart and snarky and everything else.
Remember me? I'm the kid that had a report due on space. Then I got the new Encyclopedia Britannica.
He had a report due on space, and then he got the new encyclopedia.
I think I made that abundantly clear.
Yes.
Who gets encyclopedias now in their home? I mean, that's not done anymore. Now you just have the internet. So those are all dynamic shifts. You know, buying an encyclopedia collection back in the day was really expensive. And I remember the one we had was, even at the time, was outdated when I was doing research papers in school. So all of these things, these are dramatic changes in society, in the way people go about doing things, and it's sparked the millennials to start thinking about things in different ways from that old paradigm of go to school, go to college, have a career, retire. Not quite the same thing for the millennials that have kind of figured out the new way of doing this stuff. So what is the new way? You've probably heard of it if you dip into personal finance space at all. It's the FIRE principle. You probably heard that term thrown around a lot, but essentially it is a lot of millennials are now, the money conscious ones are saying, hey, I'm going to live very, very below my means during my 20s. And then when I'm out of my 20s, I can do, and I've covered this on this video before, how you can probably retire in 10 years if you really, really, really do some financial minimalism. And a lot of millennials are doing that. And by the time they're in their 30s, they then have enough money and residual income to live a middle-class lifestyle without ever having to work for another person again. And that is a different shift. That is a complete shift. That is a different mindset from the old mindset of, again, go to college and work a career for 35 years and then retire. These kids today are saying, hey, why not just, live at home, spend as little as possible for 10 years, save up all of that money that you're getting if you do have a career, and then by the time you're in your 30s, you don't have to do it. You can do whatever you want to at that point in time as long as you live within your means. It's something that I wish, if I thought about it now, if I could go back and do that, especially since when I was in my 20s, we had a really big boom, although we did have the dot-com bubble bust and the housing market crisis while I was there, so that may have been disastrous, but if you stayed into it long enough, and that is the other thing about it too, if you have that mindset in your 20s that you're just going to work really hard for 10 years and invest all your money, even if there is a dot-com bubble burst or a housing market crisis or COVID as happened last year, you still have plenty of time to maybe extend it another 2 or 3 years until the markets get back up and you're not going to be crushed. Whereas if you do it the old way and wait until you're 65 to retire, and you wait till later in life to start really understanding how your money is supposed to grow and how that works, which there's still a lot of people in my generation that still have no clue as to how that works, then if there is a big crash, you have less time to actually make up the difference or be able to wait for a recovery to come in to then be able to just not work. So it's a lot easier when you're younger and a lot harder when you're older. And again, this is something that the Gen Xers can learn from. The thing about us as Gen Xers is we are known as being slackers. That is what our whole paradigm was back, especially in the 90s. That's what we were labeled as, is the lazy generation. And we kind of true, but hell, we still have yet to have a president of the United. We'll probably have a millennial as a president of the United States before we get an official Gen Xer. No, Obama does not count. Obama is just on the cusp, but he technically is not a Gen Xer. He's still a baby boomer. It's just insane that we have not had a Gen X president of the United States yet. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, we may be slackers, and I do think that kind of contributes to it a little bit. But again, like I said, we were sandwiched between two generations that have completely different mindsets on how money management happened. We were the generation in that transition phase. We can't do it like the baby boomers did. I mean, the baby boomers got pensions. They have Social Security. Gen X, 20 years from now, Social Security, we're going to be lucky if we get it. The one advantage we do have over the millennials, though, is that we don't have the college debt that the millennials. I mean, it's amazing how just in my lifetime, when I went to college was not, I mean, it was expensive, but it's not anywhere near what it is now for the millennials. And that's one advantage we have, that we didn't go into debt for 30 years just to pay off our education to be able to have a job. The millennials are getting that, and a lot of them are choosing not to go to college. A lot of them are choosing to learn other ways. They're choosing to seek out certificate programs and go in and work. In fact, a lot of you look at some of the big time people, running businesses these days, a lot of them either didn't go to college or dropped out of college. I mean, including Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk said he doesn't care about your college degree. He just cares about whether or not you can do the job. It seems like that's another thing that's changing. So the paradigm is shifting in the United States as far as how personal finance works and how you think about your work life. And I think that we as Gen Xers who are still in our 40s, we still got a couple decades to go in this workforce thing. We can adjust. We're not going to have as much time as the millennials do, but we still can adjust and be able to not have to go, oh my God, I'm going to work till I'm 68. Or some of us I know are still to this day racking up debt and taking vacations that we can't afford and buying stuff we can't afford and just keep racking that debt up and up. And have just kind of resigned to the fact that we're going to be working until we die, or we're going to be broke, or going to be on a government dole at some point. And this also could be it could be a problem. It could not be a problem, because numbers wise, again, you got to think that Generation X, our generation, we're not that populous compared to millennials and baby boomers. So when the baby boomers go away and we're the old geriatrics in our 80s and 90s, and there has to be Social Security, if the millennials are still paying into it, then because there's so many more of them, we might be okay. But I don't really want to count on that, because Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid, the way the government between the Republicans and the Democrats keep screwing with the money supply, who knows what's going to happen. It's better for you to control your own destiny. I know that's a thing that a lot of people don't want to hear these days, but with all the changes in technology, again, we don't need a whole thing of encyclopedias in our house. We don't have to go to the library to find out, general information. You can look at your phone, you can go on your computer and learn about pretty much almost anything in the world. Not everything, but almost anything. If we learn to take advantage of this technology that we have and use it for good things, like learning how to do some of this stuff and learning from all these millennials who are all over online and telling everybody about, hey, we found this new way in order to do the workforce thing. I think it's going to benefit everybody in the long run, and you'll be able to have more control over your destiny than having to rely on the kindness of strangers, the kindness of a younger generation that may or may not want to pay into the system, and a corrupt government that I'm sorry, most of us probably don't have, if we're honest with ourselves, even if it's on our side, that's won the latest election, we still are kind of doubtful about whether or not those guys and girls up in Washington are going to be able to take care of what they need to take care of and not screw up our money. So the bottom line to this is, if you are a Gen Xer, and especially if you're a Gen Xer who's kind of in this, I'm just going to work forever because I'm just going to rack up debt, it really is like past time to change that mindset, because you're asking for problems. You're asking for a lot of problems. Age is catching up with us. We're at that age now where we can remember being young, but now we can see getting old, and it can be kind of scary because you're not going to be able to do this stuff you can do now. So if you're tens or hundreds of $1,000s in debt, stop taking those vacations, stop buying all that crap, and kind of listen to the young people, because they're onto something. But that's the video this week, my personal finance video here on Wrestling with Finance. Hopefully you guys learned something from it. I want to hear from you, though. If you're a millennial, are there any money tricks that you know about this new concept of the way you guys look at careers and retirement? Put them in the comment box and help out some of us older Gen Xers or some of us slackers. If you're a Gen Xer, there's some things that you may want to learn from the millennials, but there may be also some tricks and tips that we have as well. Of course, we can always teach the younger generation something, so be sure to share that wisdom down in the comment box below. Of course, it doesn't matter what generation you are. You could be a baby boomer, you could be a millennial, you could be a Gen Xer, you could be Generation Z or whatever else the hell it is. If you're one of those, the greatest thing that you can possibly do right now is pound the hell out of the like button in the description box and the subscribe button and the notification bell. And also don't forget too, down in the description box, there's some free goodies for you because free helps you save money. Free 30-day trial of Amazon Prime if you want to check that out. Also have some free stocks available from Webull. If you get a Webull account and deposit at least $100 in there, you will get 2 free stocks. And in addition to that, there's a potential of you getting some free crypto by using the BlockFi link down in the description box below. Thank you guys for checking out this video. I will see you guys next time for more videos here on Wrestling with Finance. Have a good day.